Hello and welcome to the Retro News Roundup, and where else can you start this month but with the release of the NES Mini. A tiny replica of the classic Ninty console, it contains 30 built-in games and has melted the hearts of most that have played it. That's not really news admittedly, but what is that the system is sold out everywhere at the moment and prices have subsequently skyrocketed, and this can only be a deliberate ploy by the manufacturer to increase demand for the system. It isn't the 80s anymore, Nintendo, just create enough for everyone please. Staying on the subject of Nintendo, it's become common knowledge that the Japanese company trolled Sony hard when it came to pulling out of the infamous Nintendo PlayStation project, leaving Sony to look like a fool. A translated interview with Shigeo Maruyama, who was once the CEO of Sony Music Entertainment, suggested that this might not be the case though. You can read the full text, and I recommend you do, on Nintendo Everything, with the link in this video's description. To round off this section, I have a trio of news nuggets for you, with the first being a Kickstarter launched to create a remastered album of the Rayman soundtrack. The original composer is behind it, and he has the backing of the game's designer, Michel Ancel. The second is that a video of a prototype Xbox was released online last month. I'm glad they didn't end up going with this design. Finally, most things in this section aren't really strange or unusual, but this is a playable version of Doom on the MacBook Pro's touch bar. No, I don't get it either. In a surprising turn of events, the Wii U matched the 3DS's retro output last month, with the dead-in-the-water home console receiving 2 N64 ports on its eShop service, Excitebike 64 and F-Zero X. The latter is hampered by an analog control stick dead zone issue however, which often makes movement tricky, and when you're racing along at this speed, that can be a problem. The 3DS however received SNES puzzler Mario's Super Picross on its eShop, and also got a physical release in the form of Sega 3D Classics. By all accounts the latter is a disappointingly meagre collection however. Moving on to the PlayStation 4, it received a few retro nuggets in the form of PlayStation 2 titles Destroy All Humans 1 and 2, as well as Arcade Archives Contra and a port of the original Metal Slug. Away from home consoles, Xbox adventure Jade Empire was released onto Android devices, Pang was brought over to the Atari XL, Heart of the Alien was ported to the Amiga, Bosconian was put onto the range of 8-bit Atari computers, and finally Jaguar kart racing game Wacky Wheels was given a HD makeover and pushed onto PC and Mac. Then to round off things, a Kickstarter for a remake of Amiga title First Samurai was launched. The new version was to be called Super Samurai, but the appeal was swiftly cancelled when it became clear the funding goal was unlikely to be reached. Development on the game will continue though, according to the developer, so that's good. To open this section, the NeoSD, a flash cartridge for the Neo Geo MVS, was released last month. It even abides by the ridiculously overpriced ethos of the console it's been created for, with one costing you €379. Probably not something you can ask for Christmas then. Next, the Hyperkin Supaboy S, which allows you to play PAL and NTSC SNES carts, will be released before Christmas and has a price tag of £100. So it's maybe slightly more reasonable to ask for that as a gift. Third, hardware modder Venn has revealed that they're working on a backlight for the Game Boy Color. There's no news on whether it'll ever be available to buy though. In more exciting news, a Kickstarter for new keys for your Amiga has been launched. Sorry, did I say more exciting? I meant less exciting. Finally for this section, Twitter user Gilly the Kid discovered that you can use the rechargeable packs for the Wii remotes on the Game Boy Advance and also GameCube Wavebird controllers. Maybe this won't be too surprising for some, but it's cool all the same. I'll start this section with the single homebrew title that was released last month that'll cost you real money. X-Bit Xmas 2016 for the NES. A cart costs $45 plus shipping. Moving on, the CPCRetroDev 2016 competition finished in November, and although there were several great Amstrad CPC games created, it was a title called Outlaws that ended up being declared the winner. You can download it and all the other entrants by following the link in this video's description. There were 3 other games released for the format last month too, with these including Magica, Doomsday Lost Echoes and Sir Ababol 2 The Ice Palace. The latter was created by the prolific Mojon twins, and was already available on the ZX Spectrum. Talking of the Specky, it got 2 homebrew releases in November, Snake Escape and Waiting for the Light. Then to round off the new homebrew titles, there was Lizard Willy on the MSX and Crazy Music for the Commodore 64. But it would be remiss of me not to mention that Kickstarter was launched last month for Tanglewood, a platformer for the Mega Drive that I've mentioned in previous episodes. A £50 pledge gets you a cartridge of the game when it's released in winter 2017. Just one game for this section this month, and it's that a playable demo version of the eventually canned Thea Realms Fighter for the Atari Jaguar was released online. It looks better than Kasumi Ninja at least. In this much loved segment of the show, we have English language translations of Star Cruiser on the Mega Drive, Flying Trooper X Surd and Final Match Tennis for the PC Engine, and 2 NES titles, Last Armageddon and Sayuki World. I went to G-Star in South Korea last month, so why not a quick retro-themed overview of what I learnt while I was there. First, the Famicom mini controllers are small. Like, really small. Second, the Pumscade arcade machine from Pum's factory is rather cool, but when I search for it on Google, I get some rather odd results. Finally, the Yongsan Video Game Alley is very cool and worth checking out if you're in Seoul, but I'd go in knowing at least some basic Korean. And that's it. Hey, I said it would be quick. That's all for this episode then, but please do join me for more retro news at the start of next month. And please do like and subscribe if you want this show to continue. Also, I hit 1,000 subscribers last month, and it was all thanks to you. Yes, you. So cheers, and here's to the next 1,000.
I've never seen anything like this before. Good going!